R.I.P. to Navalny.
I spent time as an exchange student in Russia, and I didn't see one person.
Whoa!
I didn't see one
Hold on.
person
We've
with
got a
cough
guest
drop.
today.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who the fuck are you?
Here we go.
How did this guy
I
get
don't
in?
know. Who are you?
Well, today we actually have a guest. Hopefully, we have a camera for him. We are joined. We are joined by. We don't have the technology.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm supposed to look there. Yeah. Fuck. So
6.
we have a guest. Just say 6 next time. Yeah, never mind.
My camera has no number.
Oh shit.
You're Tilta.
Yeah. We're joined by a guest. And I asked earlier before we even were rolling, I was like, how do you want to be introduced? And Josh goes, we'll call him the Prophet. And then Dean goes, is he FIT or PHET? I thought to myself, you choose. So what are you, Kevin? You're a real estate coach, investor. You called yourself an agent, but like, that's like a diminutive kind of like,
7.
huh?
The byproduct
James
of
Bond.
the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with FIT.
FIT.
Yeah.
He's the FIT.
Yeah.
We went with
We went with the Prophet,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
PHET.
way to ruin that.
Either's fine by me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But for the ET part, you may not want to, because you have that last name ish, which is EHM, right?
Yeah, that's
what,
right.
What part of the country is that from?
It's German, from what I know.
Oh, interesting. I was going way farther east.
were
Okay,
you
we
going?
got a few problems now. We have German and went to Russia as an exchange student.
We'll come back. I didn't go. Yeah,
Is he a
like,
spy, you think, or no?
I mean, plus the beard. I mean, I'm 100% spy.
And military. American
Oh.
military.
American.
Retired.
I would have guessed Iraqi,
you
know,
I was
Assyrian,
I was
maybe.
guessing El Cajon, right? Like,
Chaldeans.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
You get that a lot?
Yeah.
But have you done the 23andMe?
I have not, and my sister has.
Okay. And what did it say? I'm just curious.
There was a lot of Irish in there, surprisingly.
Really?
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would have
so-
never guessed that.
Oh, not with the beard.
Would you be open to like laying your hands flat on the table? Well, I sort of like just gauge your pulse, Scientology style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's fine by me if you want to take a look at the roadmap going on there too.
Oh, you got a lot
He
going
does
on
that
there.
when he licks the Hall's tablets in his mouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Is that
You've
like
never-
weekdays only, or are you doing that on
Saturdays and Sundays too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
That's what pays for the new
Fair
pool that
enough.
we just put in the
7
house.
days a week.
Hey, I'm always available. I'm always working.
Tyler's coming in.
Yeah.
And
By the way,
thank you,
everyone say hi to Tyler.
Tyler.
That's
Hey.
one handsome man.
He is.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good for a big feller.
Blocked all the cameras.
Yeah. He's KC Rocket. He's our KC Rocket. No, it's fine.
Is that a
Yeah.
compliment?
Yeah.
He
How
doesn't
much
know
will
this.
you give me for the boy?
Well, I'm blushing, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, listen, that was a long intro. But as you've probably noticed, this is just a couple of dudes hanging out. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So normally what we do is we start with like the origin story, right? You don't have to go back too far. Like
Okay.
it was 1956, Elvis was king, and I was in the kindergarten on a finger painting scholarship. You don't have to go back that far,
Okay.
but let's take it back to
Fortunate for you, I was born in 1994, so we don't.
Damn.
oh
that far,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah. Older than Lev.
Barely.
Yeah. Lev, what are you? 97. That's when I
Young-
graduated
young
high
guy.
school. But take us back to how you originally got into this real estate field, and how are you still employed in this current market?
I'll give you a little bit more than just that, because I've been in the industry now for 8 years, and I think that what led up to that is more important than the past 8 years and why I've stayed in this field. So going back to what was 2011, it was my junior year in high school. I come from a middle-class family. Football is religion in my family. And so the expectation, being the youngest,
I would have
was-
guessed a different religion, but continue.
Yeah, well, teach their own. And at the time, being the youngest, it was the expectation that you went and played at the next level. You did everything that you could to go pro, and if you didn't, you figured it out. And that was the expectation. So I was, on that path. And in my 11th grade year, unfortunately, my father, who was the breadwinner of the family, had lost his job. He went from the public sector to the private sector and then got burnt because of some decisions made by his superiors. And so when he lost his job, we lost most of our material possessions, including our house. And my mother moved down to Mexico. My father moved up to San Jose because that's where he could find employment. So I now had my dad in San Jose, my mother in Mexico, and I moved in with a best friend to graduate high school. And so I say all that to say that there was a lot of maturity that took place at that time. I had to grow up and decide what I wanted to do with my life. And
Fast.
and that didn't include going to the next level and playing football and pursuing that, because now that my family had lost everything, I'm like, man, I really want to join the workforce and start making my own money so I wasn't dependent on my family. And so
Yeah.
finished up high school, didn't really know what I was going to pursue, but knew that I wanted to start working, worked in the restaurant industry for a year and a half. And then the girl that I was dating at the time, her mother worked in the banking industry. So I went and got
What does
a
she
job.
look like?
What does she look like? Out of respect for my current girlfriend,
Oh,
I'm going to
never
reserve
mind.
those comments.
The last time, you remember at the Albert, we got him.
Marlene.
Do you know Albert
Oh, I
Preciado?
listened to that. I listened to your guys' podcast with him.
Dude, it was hilarious, right? He was
Yeah.
talking about this girl, Marlene, that wouldn't date him when they were in like junior high school because he was kind of like nerdy and awkward. And she only wanted like a gangster, like vato type guy, like mas chingón que
Mhm.
tú type guy. And 20 years later, he was like, we were filming this episode at his studio and he's like, Marlene, if you're out there, you know, you fucked up, girl. You know, I've got a Ferrari, you know, and it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
In any event.
Look at me now.
Look at me now.
Yeah, shoot your shot.
Yeah.
So, so I started working in the baking industry, and a lot of people were coming in and they were cashing big checks. I asked them what they did, and they did real estate.
Okay.
Right. So as a teller at 17 or 18, 19 years old, I saw them cashing these large checks, and I thought, I want to do that. All the while I was doing network marketing. And so,
Ooh.
yeah.
EXP?
No, similar.
Cutco?
No, ironically, it was skincare, and I wasn't using the products. I mean, I
Okay.
was an
Interesting.
18, 19-year-old kid. I wasn't using soap bars.
New
to clean
skin
my
or
face.
what are we talking about?
It was called Secret. It had products
should have
from the
kept it a
Dead Sea. Yeah.
Oh, what?
So I was a secret agent at the time.
me see your skin. Excuse me, beautiful. Come here,
Yeah.
here. That's the Israeli guy.
Well, they started
The
in
kiosks.
kiosks and malls. No,
yeah.
no
My
kidding, they
cousin
did.
works in those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of them.
So
All of them.
that was my start to sales. And so that was my introduction to sales. And I thought, man, if I can make a couple $1,000s selling skincare that I'm not consuming myself,
Yeah.
I should probably go out and get my real estate license, because I see all these people cashing big checks.
But you do have great skin.
Thank you.
It's like a high
You know
contrast
what the key
thing,
is?
right?
You have to wash your face with the same towel that you wipe your balls with and get out of the shower.
Oh shit!
Didn't
I
see that
normally
coming.
use the same towel to wipe my face that I use to wipe Dean's balls.
That's your
That's
problem.
the issue.
That's the
your
problem. That's the issue.
Oh.
That explains the
Too oily,
rosacea.
too oily.
Too oily.
Yeah. So that
Did
was my
not see that
introduction.
coming, huh? This is
That was my introduction to sales. And so during that time, I had gotten my real estate license. I was working in network marketing, but I was influenced during that time to actually become a mortgage lender prior to getting into real estate.
What?
So I was,
So slow down. So you were in a pyramid scheme,
I was.
and Ricky
middle of the
Caruth would
pyramid.
call it like more of a triangle, or a triangle shape, right?
Not 3D. That's the front.
Just the front of the pyramid.
Yeah.
But okay. But and then what? You're seeing checks come into the bank,
Mhm.
right?
This guy was Daniel Mack before Daniel Mack.
I was motivated to get my
Right.
real estate license.
Right.
If you had an iPhone,
Hey, that's a nice check. Can I ask what you do for a living?
yeah, what do you do for?
Yeah, what do you do for a living?
So
I have an OnlyFans account.
got my real estate license, but didn't pursue that career. I ended up getting influence. Funny enough, talking about the skincare thing, did a presentation to one of my buddies that I had graduated high school with to get him into the pyramid scheme.
Oh, I fucking love it.
He went home,
Going clear.
He went home to tell his mom, who was the manager of a mortgage bank at Synergy One Lending at the time. So she had invited me to coffee. I didn't know much about mortgage loans.
Oh, please
I
tell
had
me that you-
done personal loans as a banker, but I referred out all the mortgage stuff.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
And so I got involved in that, and I did that for 2 years, didn't love it, and then made the transition to real
But
estate.
this is already after the financial crisis, right?
No,
you
this
wouldn't have been old enough.
yes, this was after the financial crisis because
Okay.
Did anyone else think when he was telling the mom story that this conversation was going to go in a really different direction?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total letdown, by the way.
Yeah.
But
That
please
sucks.
continue.
I think
what
this
kind of person going back to this, the multi-level marketing scheme.
Yeah.
What kind of person, you said you talked about influence. What kind
Yeah.
of, how do you influence a young boy to sell skincare products? Who did that?
How, right?
Yeah.
That's a great question. And when I think back on that,
Tell us.
it was my brother, actually. Now that I think back on it, my
Oh.
brother was influenced before me.
Interesting.
And
By
by a good friend that he had gone to school with who was making a lot of money in network marketing.
Okay.
And they had been bouncing around from company to company. I mean, the network marketing guys, they're involved in a company, and when that one burns out, they go to the next one.
We're EXP. We're what's the other one called?
Real?
The real?
Yeah. The real.
Yeah, you just keep bouncing around from
and no
front
one
face-
ever touched the cream or whatever? Like to try it out?
like
Figure out like, is it good?
Oh, yeah, they did. I did, but
You did.
it's not using it in a consistent. Yeah,
okay.
it was fine.
In any event,
Very
Did you make
interesting.
money
yeah.
Yeah, I made a few $1,000s.
a month?
Okay.
Or in
No,
general?
like
Oh.
a few $1,000s over the length of time that I was there, and that was like,
How do these
6
pyramid
months.
schemes work? Like you're supposed to first sell it to your friends and family.
you can choose your audience, and I think that's your hot market. I
Yeah.
guess.
But first you buy it yourself, right?
Yeah. It's a
That's the
small
best part.
investment of like $500 at the time.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's how it works.
This is Monia V.
His
Yeah.
brother got him to buy some face
The
cream.
downline's incredible.
I think he sponsored me though, so I was down
Oh, yeah?
with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I probably did, but
Sounds a lot like Scientology.
Yeah.
You got a pretty good downline. You know, it's like what's that bald-headed guy that flies a plane to his house in Florida?
I didn't know you
John Travolta. Yeah, he's bald.
Flies his own plane.
Flies his own
Yeah,
plane.
yeah.
So it's like you have John. This is the downline.
Do you know
right?
who John Travolta is?
yeah. Didn't he
Okay.
have a good set of hair though?
I think it was a
No.
wig.
Yeah.
Issues.
But it was like it's John Travolta, it's Tom Cruise, Grant Cardone, and then right underneath him was supposed to be Albert Preciado. I
Are
think.
these
Grant
people who
Cardone.
own landing strips at their house in Florida, or what are we talking about?
No, we're talking about sorry.
Famous Scientologist.
We're talking
Famous
about Scientologists. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But Albert wasn't with it. He's had to he told me he had to go on a cruise with Grant Cardone or something to like the Bahamas. And then they weren't supposed to drink alcohol. And then somebody ratted on him. And they're like, you did drink alcohol. He's like, no, I didn't. And they're like, put your palms up. Let me read you.
And they give you some sort of like metal things to put in your hands.
Yeah.
To detect.
Balls or something. Big, large metal balls.
Halls.
Yes. And then they determine whether or not you're lying. And they're like, Albert, you're lying. He's like, all right, fuck, I had some drinks. But yeah, so that's like the multi-level marketing scheme downline structure. I think you get brought in, and then the idea is you bring in friends and family. And then it's like they tell their friends and family, and they tell their friends and family, and they tell their friends and family.
And pretty soon you have an insurance company.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
We haven't even met the guy. Holy
Sorry.
moly. You have no idea who he's talking about.
No, I don't.
I'll tell you
But
off
you
the-
are. The concept is you're just passing the buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. And so let's transition from the front-facing pyramid, the two-dimensional pyramid, to real estate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then I had gone into mortgage loans. I did that for a couple of years. Started as like a loan partner, as an assistant. Did that for a year, and then went full commission. Didn't love it though, because I wasn't the head of the sphere of the sales, the sales sphere, not sphere. Meaning that I wasn't the one out hunting for the business. I would wait for agents to bring me business, and then I would put together a loan file, originate the loan, and then get paid.
So it's like more like a processor type role.
Initially, yeah, and then I transitioned to be a loan officer.
Okay.
And yet I wasn't bringing in my own leads, and then having a real estate agent then help on the sales side. It was the other way around. The
Sorry,
real estate
you just
agent
have to go slow because unfortunately we know nothing about this industry.
Gotcha.
Josh does.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to talk, he can talk.
Some days.
Gosh, gets it.
I think my mortgage is through Merrill Lynch, so it's a little bit
Okay.
different.
Mm.
But I'm sure that, right, there's plenty of people that go through,
Loan shops.
Global Financial Group.
yeah, Global One Financial.
Wasn't that like a big
Synergy
shop
One.
that was inside the Miramar Metroplex or
You
whatever?
would know.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Really?
World Equity.
Might have also been inside of Fry's Electronics or something
Or the Geek Squad.
for the Geek Squad. So yeah, so you weren't originating your own file. So you were
He basically is waiting for a realtor to bring him a deal.
Yeah.
eek. That's not a good place to be
Yeah.
because you're waiting for someone to give you a deal.
You're sucking up to him and you're taking them out to lunch and,
And then-
coffee, and they still
really?
might not get. Yeah,
And they still might not give you their deal.
Yeah.
And then you see their imperfections and you think, well, I'm licensed as an agent. I should just go out and do it myself.
So you're licensed as a real estate agent?
I was licensed as a real estate agent.
Oh, so you
with
got
the-
everything.
With the intention of going into real estate first.
Yeah.
And then when I had presented that multi-level marketing to my friend, his mother introduced me to the loan side.
Okay.
And
And
so
that's
that's
when
what influenced me
okay.
to get into loans first.
And that's when we thought the story was going to take a different type of
Yeah,
turn.
exactly. Yeah.
But it didn't.
No.
Full circle.
But we hoped it did.
Yeah.
And I'd like to still think it did.
And so when I made that transition, it was a big reason why was because I saw certain things from the agents that I was working with that I felt like I could do better.
Like
And-
what? Give us an example.
Okay, so I think one of the more prominent things that I can remember is that one day we were outdoor knocking homes on a home that he had just sold to the neighbors. So we were passing out flyers
Wow.
stating that we had just sold a home in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I was doing that as my commitment to him as his partner. Well, he had gotten a phone call. He stepped away. I led the conversation at that door to that homeowner, and I ended up booking a listing appointment. So I had shared the information. We had sold a home in the area, asked them if they had thought about selling. They said yes. That moment, I thought, great, I got a listing appointment for my agent, and yet I didn't benefit from that because they sold their home and they didn't buy another one. They moved out of state. So there was no financial incentive for me other than getting my real estate agent his deal. And so I thought, you know what, this might be a time for me to make that transition. Amongst other things. I mean, not to say that any one of us are perfect, and yet when you see certain people performing a way that you feel like you can be superior to that, it inspires you to go out and take that next step.
Take us through. So you're knocking on doors and you're saying it's similar to like how when people are
Solar
washing
guys.
windows
Yeah.
or solar, right? They're like, yeah, I just sold Dean's house down the street. We got a crazy offer. It's in escrow, and thought maybe the Ricky Caruth style, where it's like you're in a 4-bedroom home that's 2,600 square feet. I have one that's for sale. It's 5-bedroom, 3,600 square feet. You might be, I mean, is that like, can you get people at the door and get them talking, or is it like, go fuck yourself?
Yeah, I think everybody, when they're early in their career in real estate, you have to find affordable lead generation options.
Yeah.
And so getting belly to belly with people and sharing a home. that
Excuse
is
me?
sold.
Belly to belly.
Tummy sticks?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about it. We are gonna get
is an
kicked off of
affordable way
YouTube.
to find leads. So
Yeah.
that's what we did for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I never liked them coming up to me belly to belly.
Nobody
I
does.
I like to keep at least a few feet between us.
But are you specifically talking to women like during the day, like homemakers who are home, or are you coming like after people are home from work? Like, what's the strategy?
Around 3 o'clock.
Okay, so
There's
dad's not home.
Yeah, most aren't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mom's home.
hmm
Yeah, but you
The
weren't using
decision
that
maker.
strategy.
The decision maker was home.
Yeah. And that's pretty true, right? If anyone wants to buy or sell their home, it's a chat between dad and mom where mom's going, yes, I want to move, right? Yes, I want to upgrade. Yes, we need more space. My
And if-
wife's that way. I
And
know.
if Dean's at the door, you just make sure you have a Halls.
Yeah.
Because
Something to
he
lubricate
doesn't
your
like you
mouth with.
belly to belly unless you got a Halls in.
Yeah.
Right, Dean?
Yeah,
Got
I got turned on by the social proof. I like it when they come and they tell me, Bob, like, yeah, he's my next door neighbor. He just got solar. Yeah, and Jim next to him too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that works so well.
I think
Social
the
proof.
social proof, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's solar or wind, I get, God bless you. I get turned on by the window washing because they're like, yeah, we just washed,
Josh's window.
we just washed Josh's windows. And doesn't that look much better? And I'm like, he's like, don't you want to wash your windows? I'm like, I never wash my windows. They're like,
You guys answer the door? That's so crazy. to me.
through the security
I used
system.
to.
Through
I
the-
don't answer the
No,
door.
no, no,
The
through the
Will's at my
security-
door yesterday. I'm like, hey, bro, I'm on the call. Leave me alone.
His
Like-
house, by the way, has a sign next to the like ring doorbell, and it says, "Get this." And I took a picture of it and sent it to you. It says, "Please don't knock. Also, please don't ring doorbell." What are you supposed to do?
Leave. Leave.
Ah.
We just can't put that in our neighborhood. They get offended. Yeah.
Okay.
You're supposed
But
to
I'm not
quack.
answering the door for a realtor, a Jehovah's Witness, a solar guy, a window cleaner,
Solar guys are
Whale
the
gets
worst.
50-50. Yeah.
They're so good.
They wear orange
I already have
vests.
solar and they keep showing up.
Or maybe
More
they can't
panels.
see from their
Are they
vantage
blind?
point.
Like these are blind solar people.
Hi, we just wanted to let you know that Bob down the street just got solar. And so if you're interested in solar, man, there's never been a better time.
He does crowd work too.
It's good. Yeah.
Oh, it was your joke.
That's a good one.
My buddy who's Mormon, I don't know if you know anything about the Mormon religion, but they're like the Jehovah's Witness, their whole religion is kind of predicated upon proselytizing through door knocking.
Mhm.
And some of the best door-to-door salespeople come specifically from the Mormon community because they're already desensitized to it. People are saying no to them 300 times a day during their mission, right? Which is kind of like, you kind of did your mission, right? That was the skincare thing.
Yes and no. I think my mission, if we're putting it that way, was my first year in real estate
You are the prophet.
The profit.
as
Let's go.
as an inside sales agent,
Okay.
which was my job to take phone calls coming in. And when we weren't getting phone calls coming in, I was making outbound phone calls. That to me was the trenches because I was making upwards of 500 calls a day between a 3-hour period.
Is this like an auto dialer?
Yeah, auto dialer.
Okay. So it's
Yeah,
just going,
triple line dialer.
so it's calling 3, finding the one who picks up and then giving it to you.
Right.
So what's the pitch like? I'm just curious. Do you remember it?
Yeah, it's a circle dialing script. So it's, hey neighbor, my name's Kevin. I'm with XYZ Realty. Not sure if you know, we sold your neighbor's house at 123 Main Street. When that home sold, there was multiple offers. As you know, only one family gets it, leaving other families still interested in buying in the area. Was just curious if you're interested in making a move.
It's pretty good. There's a
Well, I
reason
did it
why they call you
500
the
calls a day.
Yeah. There's a reason why they call you the prophet, right? That's pretty.
Why you call me the prophet? Yes.
Well, now it's your name.
It's engraved in stone.
Yeah. It's
How long ago?
We're gonna
was
add it
this?
to your shirt.
This was 2017. 2017.
What year is it?
Yeah, I got to get it on
20.
this
I always
thing.
forget. Like people are like 2017. I'm like, how long ago was that? All right, 24, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's a long time
I
ago.
did that for a year and then I graduated from that role into becoming a full-time real estate agent and just
Yeah.
Building
So
my
okay. So
business
rewind. So you're a loan officer, and like Josh was saying, right? He's relying upon the influx of leads from these realtors, and it seems like a bad place to be in, right? Because you're kind of like sitting on your hands, kind of waiting for things to come in. I think for a real salesperson, right, that's annoying, right? I think for people who aren't go-getters in life, that's probably a fine role to be in. Trying to think of the one guy that we know.
Oh, yeah,
Cold
yeah.
calls for you. I'm not mentioning his name,
No, no.
but
Probably watching.
huh?
He's probably watching.
Oh, jeez. Okay. No offense.
He lives at 12774.
He might be interested in some solar. I don't know. Do you think you might be interested? I don't know. But I think for a real salesperson, somebody who wants to eat what they kill, right? You realize very early on, because you were probably what, like, I don't know.
21, 22.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really young age to go like, all right, I'm fucking bored. I'm out, right? I'll leave my job, because you probably had a base salary.
As the loan officer, I was full commission. And the year prior, when I was doing assistant work, I was on a small salary.
You had a small salary.
With a
Okay.
bonus.
So you had already transitioned to commission only. What does the split look like on that? Just out of curiosity.
70, 30. And we're probably making like 2% on a transaction. So,
All right. So let's use a real world example. It's $1 million home,
$20,000,
20 grand?
70% of that.
right? And you get how much?
That would be
14 grand.
14,000.
Yeah.
You get 14 grand for putting their loan together?
Yeah.
Hey, Dean, you have like a Apple Note or like something you can write
How
this
do you
down?
think Josh is your neighbor?
Damn.
Bro. I
Damn.
don't know if that's an insult or a compliment.
WT
It's a
passing.
compliment.
Oh, I'll take it. I'll take
WHT
it.
passing. Yeah, I can't say the rest of can't say the vowels.
That was a hot time. You could mark loans up pretty nicely.
Wait, so you can't
That was-
do that today? You can't get 2 points on a loan? That
You can.
1 point on the front end, 1 point on the back end from the lender?
You can make more.
Yeah, you can make more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this something you might be interested in? Might this be something that you're interested in?
You guys should. I mean, you can lend hard money loans, right? Technically, to
I
real
mean,
estate.
we could lend
invest-
anything.
Yeah.
You just need another license, I think, right? I think we need some sort of like
My license.
bullshit real estate licenses.
What?
Yeah.
I think you can study for like an hour and then pass that test.
30 minutes.
Yeah. But there's like a different type of, there's a mortgage lender license, right? There's like a couple different, right?
DRE or DBO or something. There are different types. Yeah.
I think we have the
MLS.
DBO stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting world, right? I mean, the only keywords that are more competitive than business loan would be home loan. So
Yeah.
find out, right, what it costs to acquire a customer.
I think for a
Looking
click
for that.
for a click for us costs $50. I would assume for real estate it costs the same, probably $50. $50 a click. But the difference is in the conversions, right? Like what does your waterfall look like? For us, it's like, you know, it's $50 for a click, $150 for a lead, and that's kind of like how the waterfall looks. I wonder what it looks like for real estate because as I understand it, it's difficult to get a mortgage, right?
And there's lots of competition. You
Right.
guys have no competition.
We have
really.
competition. We have Square.
Tons of it.
Oh, yeah, whenever we talk to
Tons of it.
affiliates,
It's like
no,
you have big brands.
not like mortgages. Not
There's
like
like
mortgages.
7 million loan officers in the world.
Yeah, it's
The
well
barrier
known.
of entry is much lower.
Say it again.
The barrier of entry is much lower. It allows for more competition.
Yeah,
I mean,
any idiot can become a real estate.
and they do.
Yeah, no, it's true, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting question, right? When you were that young, sitting in that seat, how did you compare yourself to the people around you, right? What made you stand out?
At the time, it was being honest and transparent because I didn't have much more to lean on. I didn't have experience. I didn't own my own home. I didn't have product knowledge the same way that my competition did. And so I leaned on being transparent, telling them that I was new and being there and being available because I think that's something that oftentimes isn't given. If you're working with somebody that's very busy, they're not going to answer the phone on certain days and certain hours. And so being available for them, being transparent and being competitive, I think was what I had to lean on at that time.
You're a pretty likable guy, so kind of see how that works out. Although they couldn't see you, right? Just your voice.
Well, yeah, depending on the setting, most times conversations were over the phone. And yet, like I said, we started getting business by hitting the doors and meeting people in person. So to some degree.
So now you do real estate lending, or you don't anymore. You're just a real estate agent. You have a team, you coach, and you flip homes.
I
You're
am
an investor.
Yes. So I'm no longer doing financing.
Nothing.
Yeah. So all of that is referred out.
We kind of like glossed over the transition. So we went from loan officer and then to realtor.
Mhm.
You spoke about like walking door to door and door knocking, and then we made the joke about how Mormons are like the best in the business. And you said, well, that wasn't really the difficult part. It was like the cold calling was my mission.
Yeah.
That's where you sort of like got your what do they call it? Like when you're sailing, your sea legs, right? So you got your sea legs in cold calling. How long were you doing the door knocking thing?
I'm still doing it today, just not the same way that I was doing it before. So now I'll visit motivated sellers. These are people who are behind on their mortgage payments, people who have listed their home for sale and didn't end up selling, people who are going through a divorce, people who are listing their home without a real estate agent. So people who have put their hand up and said that they're motivated to make a move. I will go visit them rather than what I was doing before was just visiting any homeowner or any home in the area of the home that we were selling in. And so it is more challenging now and is more competitive now because good agents have the same resources and data. So we know which homeowners are likely to sell. And yet a new agent might be discouraged from doing that because it is competitive. There are other people visiting that same home on that same day.
So walk us through, you don't have to reveal all your sources of like how you do this,
Fine.
but I know Josh has a system, right? For your business, the real estate fund side, you have cold callers. The cold callers are utilizing or leveraging data, right? The data is like this person on this street has this mortgage at this rate, right? Could be behind on their mortgage. And then the cold callers are kind of like what you did, right? They're pounding an area, could be a zip code, could be a street, whatever the case may be. And you're saying, hey, are you interested in an off-market sell? That's kind of the strategy, right? More or less. Is that kind of what, because you talked about going through divorces and stuff like that. Do you want to reveal just even at 10,000 feet, kind of like how you learned to do this? And if you were going to teach someone, it sounds like you're a coach also, right?
Yeah.
Are people receptive to this idea of, I think for me, it would be really awkward. Like, I know she left you, homie, you know what I mean? But listen, I could take the house off your hands. So just walk us through, treat us as if we're someone that wants to buy into your coaching platform.
Sure. I think first you have to understand that nobody in these situations wants you to visit their home. We have to understand that it is invasive, and it's our job to control the conversation in a way that makes them feel comfortable and provides them resources. So most people, what they would do is they would show up at these houses and be direct in, let's use notice of default, people who are behind on their mortgage payments. Most people would show up at that house and say, hey, I know that you're behind on your mortgage. Would you like to sell it prior to facing foreclosure? And the challenge with that is that they're already embarrassed by their situation, and they're already getting a ton of phone calls, emails, postcards. They don't want to be solicited in that way. They know that they can sell their house before they face foreclosure, and yet they're looking for avenues to keep their house. And so what I've done that's different than most people that I've heard doing or working notice of defaults is that when I arrive at somebody's house, I provide them with resources of a loan modification, speaking with a bankruptcy attorney, and if they have to, then selling their house.
So you have all these like arrows in your quiver. That's not, let's get your home sold.
And most people who are behind on their mortgage is a lack of financial education to begin with.
Yeah.
So to assume now that they understand what resources they have in this situation is far-fetched. And so by providing them those resources, then I become someone they trust, to where now once they self-discover they have to sell it, because most banks, if they loan modify you once and you default on that, they're not going to restructure your loan again. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. A bank is in business to make money. They're not going to continue lending to somebody who isn't making payments.
How difficult is a loan modification today? Because I remember in the mortgage crisis, it was easy, right? And we lived in Orange County at the time. I don't know how much you know about Orange County, but Orange County was like the hub for idiot mortgage people. Maybe it still is today. They had Countrywide was in LA, but like for wholesalers, right? This was like big game, right? And I remember Orange County had a lot, like an overwhelmingly large amount, right, of loan officers, LOs. And then they all got laid off when the market collapsed in 2008. But then they all became mortgage modification specialists. I don't know what the technical term is, but they were crushing. They would charge you like $5,000. I would hear these stories. $5,000 up front to try to like modify your loan. Do you remember any of this, Dean?
I remember there's a law firm in our building.
Yes.
That was murdering it.
Yeah.
Guy was buying Lambos and airplanes.
Yeah. Airplanes specifically. Remember that?
Yeah. He's
the
a
tall,
pilot.
thin man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a nice setup.
Yeah.
And they were processing these mortgage modifications.
Right.
Or lawsuits surrounding the mortgage modifications. It's probably a lawsuit that leads to a mortgage modification.
So who did he work for? Did he work for the bank?
I think so.
Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking specifically like the dregs of society, right?
Mhm.
Like leeching on, like cold calling leads and going like, we'll modify your mortgage.
He was just on the other side of it.
Yeah, he was on the other side. Okay. But is it difficult today to modify a loan?
It's not. I mean, as long as you have the income to support that payment, and if they're able to stretch that term, it's going to shrink the payment. So let's say you owe $3,000 and you have 20 years remaining on your loan. If you stretch that out to 30 years, then it's going to reduce that $3,000 payment to $2,600 or $2,500.
Do they also touch the interest rate or not really?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You would know better than I would.
But today, right?
You have to miss payments, which hurts.
So do people coach like, hey man, like you're underwater, right? Equity wise, right? Here's a strategy. Like don't pay your mortgage for like 4 months.
2 months.
Oh,
That's
here
a
we
great
go.
question.
Here's the coaching. All right. Don't pay for 2 months.
Don't pay for 2 months. Call the lender. Say, hey, I'm behind. Can you help me out here? And they're like, well, let's send in our modification application.
And is that what you can do? Like you could literally show up on someone's doorstep knowing that they're behind in their mortgage. Is that true or not true?
Yeah, it takes 90 days to get a mortgage default to show up on public record. So I
Okay.
wouldn't know until they're 90 days late.
Is that too late?
No.
So you show up, hat in hand, you're behind in your mortgage, 120 days. Do you want to keep the house?
Let's call, right?
Let's call.
Yeah.
And is that a service that you can coach people on to provide or to
Yeah.
provide?
Yes.
Oh, that's hot.
And
But you don't
we
make
don't
money
make
off
any
of that,
money
yeah.
doing that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
So,
All my homies in Orange County would be disappointed.
well, I think,
my brother.
and I can't speak for them, but if they were an attorney, what they could do is they can get a retainer up front to sign a third-party authorization form to then have access to contact the bank directly to structure that loan modification, all while the buyer or the homeowner doesn't do anything.
Yo, I'll buy anything from you, bro.
So
You're like mesmerizing. This is the reason they call you the prophet. Clip that up, by the way.
Eyes in the beard.
Unbelievable.
He's got you.
The way you just explained that. Can you say that one more time?
Which part?
The whole thing. They're 90 days behind in their mortgage.
Yeah.
You show up and
And I offer them to modify their loan and or speak to a bankruptcy attorney to look at Chapter 13 options to reorganize their assets to retain their home.
but in order to speak to the lender, you need to have them retained by an attorney, have power of attorney to represent them, call the bank on their behalf, right?
It is an option, yes, to have an attorney do that. And I would assume that there's a retainer fee that is charged up front. If I wanted to do it on their behalf without an attorney involved, I would need to have a third-party authorization form signed so that I can speak to their bank on their behalf so that they don't have
Walk
to
me through it. What do you say to the bank? I'm curious.
to the bank.
Yeah.
I call, I introduce myself as their real estate agent. I provide them with their loan number. I provide them with their address and their name. They then share with me what default they have. Maybe it's a notice of trustee sale, which is a date that states when their home is going to be sold at the county courthouse at auction.
Oh, wow.
So I then will provide them the financials that are required, such as their income documentation, their asset documentation, and then the bank will review it. During that time, once they get a specific point of contact from the bank, which is simply a person who has been designated or assigned to that file,
Yeah.
then you'll know that you've got traction. They're now reviewing it with an underwriter.
Do they pause the loan in the meantime?
Yes. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. So they'll actually
That's awesome.
pause the foreclosure date, or I guess the foreclosure timeline, until a determination is made. Once they've accepted you for a loan modification, you
How long
have
does that take, by the way?
it can take 30 days. It can be much longer. It just depends on how that mortgage servicer is responsive to it.
Yeah.
It can take more time. All with that being said, their foreclosure timeline is paused. So there's no threat of them being foreclosed on during that time.
Right.
Once they've been approved, then they need to make 3 payments, so 90 days during their trial period. And then once they've made those 3 days, if they've been on time and they've paid in full, then the bank will most likely approve them. It's not guaranteed that they will.
And you're doing this all for free.
I'm doing this all for free.
This sounds horrible.
So
It does,
such a
it does
fascinating
until
topic.
you get listings from it.
But how do you get listings? You're hoping that the modification doesn't go through, or a referral, or
So what the homeowners don't know is that if they've defaulted
don't
on a
tell
loan
them.
modification,
They're listening.
if they've defaulted on a loan modification before, they're not going to be approved. So I can ask them, have you done a loan modification before? And if they say yes, and they're still defaulted on it, I know that they're not going to get approved for it. I'll tell them it's very unlikely you're going to get approved for it, and we can go this direction. So yes, it takes a little bit of time to mature, and I visit about 3 to 5 a day,
Oh, wow.
4 days a week.
Whoa.
So you can imagine I'm having a lot of conversations, and just like anything else, it's time on the right task over time. They're
like
going
that.
to mature.
clip that up.
They're going to mature, and then they're going to realize they need to sell, and they're not going to call the person that said, "Hey, I want to sell your house." They're going to call the person that walked them through the song and dance.
Interesting. And so if they're behind on their mortgage, I don't want to say if they're behind. Let's say they did the mod, right? And they're now, I don't want to say caught up, whatever the term is, right? But they've got their loan modified. Instead of paying $1,500 a month, they got the term extended. Now they're paying $750. Do you tell them like, hey, dude, like, do you want to be stuck in this home, or do you want to sell it and move into something more affordable? Like, how do you
leverage it.
Yeah, how do you, exactly?
He's not. I don't think he is. You can't.
No, yeah, there's attrition.
No, he's a prophet. He's
Because
got
if
this.
they miss a payment, they're banned from getting a loan for 24 months or 12 months.
Oh, what?
With a morttage late, you can't
Their
get a
credit's shot at that
Yeah,
point.
you're
Oh.
610. Like they're renting.
610. You looking at my FICO?
Sorry.
I mean, we live in this beautiful place, San Diego, and we watch the news and it tells us that home equity is at a record. Everyone's employed. Everyone's got a job and it's a great job because income's here, right? Minimum wage in San Diego is like 75 grand. Is this a common thing that you see out there?
All those things can be true and someone can still be behind on their mortgage.
So how much of this do you see?
I would say that when we pull a new list, which is typically once a week, there's probably about 75 new records of notice of default.
In the county?
And that's a guess in the county. So it's not a very high number.
yeah.
Sounds like a high number.
Well, it
75
doesn't
of-
sound. No, for the county of San Diego, dude, there's got to
Millions
be
of people.
4 million people.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
4 million people in San Diego County. 75. That's nothing.
A
Not a
week.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah. And so
And you have it set up, mechanized systems, processes to the extent that as those become, as that lead funnel,
Mhm.
right, yields new people every week,
Mhm.
it's hitting your desk, it's hitting your phone.
yes. So the lead list comes in. Our operations manager imports any of the leads that are within my area that I choose, which is south of the 8. They'll
Damn, I
upload
don't even
that.
go south of the 56.
They'll-
You're a
they'll upload-
cowboy.
Not safe.
You're a
They'll-
cowboy, bro. I love it.
They'll upload that into my CRM. They'll also task me to visit certain homes, and then they'll put together a route for me to visit it.
Do
So
you go looking like that with the cuffs and everything, with the name?
I'll wear a polo.
Okay, all right. You don't want to look too
Polo
polished.
and some Converse. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want it. And it also depends on the area that you're in. I mean, if you're in a more affluent area, I might put on a button up. Most homes
Because
that I'm
Chula
visiting,
Vista, right? They have some affluent neighborhoods.
Eastlake.
they do.
Eastlake, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it just depends on the area. And so that that's the system, is that once a lead list comes in, it's imported into the database. They give me my route, who I'm visiting. I then go visit them, and then I update the database task myself. And then we send them a monthly postcard. So that way, anybody who
Whoa.
we aren't able to convert, we're at least staying top of mind.
Albert Preciado, if you are listening, bro, get on this in LA. You know Albert?
I don't know him personally, no. I
Okay.
know of him.
But you know of him?
Yes.
Dude, he is like the Mexican Prince of Bel-Air, right? He is like against all odds, learning handicap, ESL. And we've visited him countless times. We've talked about, getting his agents and LOs to stop sitting on their hands and knees, right? And to go build systems and processes about this. And he has these 5K masterminds that he does twice a month. He should be teaching this. This is genius. This is great stuff. This is like 2 mice fell into a bucket of cream type thing, right? One gave up and the other one just kept spinning, what's the phrase name? Do you remember this one? It was like 2 mice fell into a bucket of cream. One like struggled and
Churned and
gave
made
up.
butter.
Yeah, and then was able to
Yeah.
crawl out. You're the guy who crawled out.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's amazing, dude.
Not like crabs in a bucket, like keeping
Yeah.
each other down.
Yeah.
Crabs.
Oh shit. That happened to you once in Mexico.
The-
Next episode, we'll
yeah,
get to it.
terrible.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
this
yeah.
is super interesting. So in San Diego County, are there folks that actually have very little equity in their homes and are in this situation? Does that even exist?
Most of them have a lot of equity. And I think a reason why is because over the last 18 months, we've been in a high interest rate climate. So affordability has been a challenge in getting approved. So anybody that did secure a loan in the last 18 months had to have good income to support that. And interest rates have gone down insignificantly, but have gone down since then. So they're probably in a better financial position now than when they bought it versus somebody who bought 10 years ago and they've got a ton of equity. Their life can have changed from then to now. So they have a lot of equity, but if they lost their job or they went through divorce or XYZ happened, that could have changed their financial position to where they can no longer support it. So a lot of them do have equity.
So there's this gentleman in Arizona named Pace Morby. Have you heard of him?
Familiar.
This guy is amazing, right?
Yeah, he's a god.
got
You're
a
the prophet.
community.
He's the god.
He's the
He's
sub
God.
two
Yeah, he's the
prophet.
god. Yeah.
And
Big banks
as
are
we
like-
understand it, sub 2 is not really something that's applicable to California. Can you speak to that?
I can't speak to it on a high level. From what I know and from what I've studied, we aren't allowed to operate that way on the escrow side. So they're subject to financing. We have a due on sales clause, which means that if Josh owned a home and I wanted to make his payments for him, so I wanted to purchase his house, but the loan stayed in position,
Mhm.
and I wanted to make those payments for you, once title transferred into my name and he still had the loan, the bank would then call Josh and say, hey, your loan is due because you're no longer the owner of this house.
So
Well,
is
I'm
that what-
glad you said that because Pace Morby can help you solve this problem.
Really?
Yep.
I don't think he ever updates the title. I think there's some sort of side agreement.
So again, it's the deed is transferred subject to making the payments on this mortgage. And of course, there's that due on sale clause. Any bank can foreclose on you. But Pace is not worried about that, and his community isn't worried about that because they understand that as long as you make your mortgage payments, no one is going to foreclose on you. What kind of crazy bank would you have to be to foreclose on a property that's making regular payments?
But you said if you're making payments on behalf of Josh,
Mhm.
I'm trying to like sort of understand this. Like in the old days, I would, for my mortgage, I had like a checkbook and I would write the check out. And then the memo portion, bottom left of the check, I would put the loan number. And then I'd put that in an envelope and a stamp and send it to the bank. And that would pay off my mortgage for that month. Nowadays, right? It's like whatever.
ACH.
ACH or yeah.
Online portal.
Yeah, that type of thing. So how does Pace do it? Is he getting your loan number and
Indeed.
going to his Bank of America account and saying like this is the loan number and this is the amount and I want it on the 15th of every month?
Absolutely.
But do you think Bank of America cares?
No, I don't think they do care.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they're good.
So then how would title ever get notified? Like if disaster struck.
They can know that the deed has been transferred into Pace Morby's name.
I see. So title is
They will
updated.
find out.
Title is updated. Ah, I see.
But they
And
can
so-
call it.
Okay, so the bank gets notified that title has been updated. And they're like, well, he's not behind on his mortgage, but he's assigned the title to someone else. And we didn't approve that guy for a mortgage. We haven't seen his credit. We haven't seen his financials. And you're saying in California, that would cause an immediate foreclosure?
In my limited knowledge.
Yeah. No, listen,
Yeah.
you're the
the way
prophet.
Pace explains it is that it doesn't matter. There's no bank in any state that's going to call a mortgage
We should just test this.
that's receiving
We should
these
just
payments. So my question to you is, can we find a property, right? Obviously, there's going to be some equity in that property. So you have to pay the homeowner some amount to make them happy to be able to take over their 3% mortgage.
You know what it reminds me? It's kind of like getting, like you own a property and you have a renter there, right? And you're like, get the fuck out. And they're like, I'm not getting the fuck out. It's cash for keys, homie. It's kind of analogous to that. You've got,
Here at Cash for Keys is the equity.
right.
You have to
So
give
it's
them.
like you're behind on your mortgage, right? And I don't even need you to sell. You stay in the home, right?
I'll catch you up.
I'll catch you up. I'll give you 50 grand right now, but sub to me. Is that what it's called? I don't know.
That was good.
Pace. What is it called? Right? It's something like that. I think we should test this theory. I'll buy a house with you tomorrow. What do you think, Dane?
Great idea.
Carmel Valley. I don't go south of the 56.
I think
So
Spring Valley.
We'll send him.
Spring Valley?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Valley.
I call it the
It's a
Valley
valley.
House. I call it the Valley House.
Spring Valley sounds right? I mean, because again, we're talking about, say, a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 home, right? It's not going to have as much equity in it as a $2 or $3 million home in Carmel Valley. So It's much easier to figure out how
catch
to
them up.
write a check.
Yeah. So cash for keys, that guy. What do you think he's behind?
Repayments.
3 payments, right? That's when it hits
10
your
grand.
that
10
hits your
grand.
desk, 10 grand, right? And does he have equity or does he not?
Probably.
Well,
Unless he leveraged it. to the T, but he has equity.
So let's say he's what, maybe 100
So I got
grand?
one today.
Okay.
Perfect example. She's in foreclosure. She's old. She owes 120 grand on it.
Whoa.
It's worth 750.
Wait. Hold on. How does she owe? Oh, that's her balance.
That's her balance.
She's not past due.
No. She's past due like 40 grand.
Oh,
So what we're looking for,
over $100,000.
you
so,
have.
so that's a really terrible situation. What we're looking for is a situation where the home has been purchased in the last few years, and they're in trouble.
Wow.
So the
They don't
amount
have
of
to be in trouble.
equity
They don't
is
have to be
very
in
low.
trouble. I could go walk up to you right now and say, hey, I'll buy your house. I'll give you whatever price you want. You wouldn't do it? I just want your 3% interest rate.
I'm not going to let you assume my mortgage if I'm not in trouble.
You're smart, but say you're not smart.
Yeah. So okay, I like
But
that.
that's what people do.
We're going to negotiate in my garage.
This is not going
Mix
to
the
work.
water
You're
here.
negotiating with a Russian Jew here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, but most of these
Yeah.
people, I had one where it was subject to. The guy wasn't behind. He needed to get out of that house.
They want to leave.
So you've completed a subject to transaction.
Yeah, but it was in like Oklahoma. It was like a shitty 3-bedroom, 2
State.
baths.
Sorry.
No,
What?
I was going to say
I'm
that.
sorry.
Like up.
I think it's
Camera
on
six.
the it's on the come up.
It was $180,000.
So you brought the arrears current.
He wasn't late. He just couldn't sell his home for the price he wanted.
I see.
So I said, "Look, I'll take it. I just want your mortgage."
Did you pay the 12 grand to pay?
I paid some finder fee, not to.
Listen, I think you guys
I
need
paid
to
a
reach
finder
out to
fee.
Pace Morby and find out more about this sub 2
What?
product.
You can't just reach out to Pace Morby. You have to pay 12 grand to be part of the community.
I think I can get them a discount.
I could text Pace or I could call Pace on FaceTime right now. That'd probably make a good.
FaceTime Pace.
Yeah, I could.
It's
I
a
don't know
great
if he's
idea.
going to pick up, but I
It's
do
like
have him
when
in my phone.
the Two Bears podcast FaceTimes Kevin Hart. He
He's
won't pick up.
He's an industry plant.
He
He's an
won't pick
industry
up.
plant. But I like the subject too. As an investor, I love that type of stuff.
Because it's so hard today to find affordability. So if you can adopt somebody's 3% mortgage, who
It's
cares
worth
if
all
you're,
the money in the world.
who cares if you're paying 5% over the
And I like it on commercial more than, like residential. I'm not trying to build like a monopoly board of shitty homes on Baltic Avenue. You know what I mean? I like maybe hotels, office buildings, things like that.
The trouble is, though, a lot of times they don't have a fixed mortgage on those things.
Right.
So it's probably
On the commercial
an
stuff, it's
issue.
floating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
Self-storage, all that stuff sounds really sexy. RV parking, self-storage, those tilt-up type buildings that Amazon will use to warehouse.
I think self-storage is the hot thing right now, isn't it?
In Texas.
I wouldn't
Texas.
know.
Texas
I think
big.
self-storage is big everywhere, right? That's like a hot thing. I've got a buddy that owns, how many parking lots does Ilya own?
40 or 50.
40 or 50 parking lots. And then it's his main customer is Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty wild. Who's actually taken equity forcibly in his parking lot business. They're like, if you don't give us equity, if you don't give us skin in your business, we'll just pull out, use somebody else's parking lot. So in any event, but going back to like this sub 2, I don't call it a scheme. In British English, scheme doesn't necessarily have like a bad connotation. In America, when you say scheme, it's like a bad thing. But with the sub 2 concept, very bad, yeah. But with the sub 2 concept, for states where I guess you don't have a lot of equity, right?
That's a great question, right? So maybe you can tell us, what states would homeowners today be suffering from low equity?
Just think of any area or state where people aren't moving to because they're not getting much appreciation because there
Oklahoma.
isn't demand.
Like
I mean, the
flyover
reason
states,
why
right?
we have so much
Yeah.
appreciation, why people have equity is because people move here for the weather, the coast, for school, the military, and they don't ever leave. If you come from the Midwest, you stay in San Diego.
Yeah.
And so our population is increasing and we're not building fast enough.
How about Michigan? That's a shithole.
That sounds about right.
Anything
They
like,
have some equity in Michigan. There's some.
really?
Yeah.
That seems like a
You're
hot
talking Indiana, the Ohio's.
Illinois.
No, they have some.
Illinois has equity.
Yeah, some.
I don't think Chicago has any equity.
Well, it
You'll
depends
get
on
shot.
Some of
depends
the
on what part of
areas, yeah.
Chicago.
There's some
Wacker
high
Drive
end.
probably has some equity.
The South Carolinas, the North Carolinas.
I would think
the
North Carolina is
Carolinas
good.
have equity.
No, I
it's
have a house
beautiful.
there. It's
Damn, said it. He
There's
said
no-
it. I remember North
there's no
Carolina,
real
people
growth.
saying there's like,
Yeah.
do you remember bio and life science going to North Carolina? It was
Yeah.
like the big thing.
Around the universities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it lasted, but
Basically, all the houses where I have or a state where I have a house in,
Yeah.
that's no appreciation.
You're like on the monopoly board, but
Yeah,
in
the
really
Baltic,
cheap
yeah.
property.
he's got all the Baltic states
Yeah.
or the Baltic,
Purple,
not Baltic
orange.
states, the Baltic avenues.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out to all my Ukrainians. Sorry about the
They
Baltic
don't
states.
increase in value. You're using it for cost segregation for your tax returns. You're cash flowing $100 a month.
I didn't
if
know that was still a
Hmm.
thing, cost segregation. I thought
Yeah,
in
you
the
get bonus.
1960s we
I
got
don't
rid of
think
that.
we should do that.
That's
anymore.
a different type of segregation.
I don't think we should do that anymore.
Cost segregation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean,
I want equal rights for everyone. Sucks. Well, let's move
why
on.
can't we treat people? the
Yeah,
same?
why can't we treat all the states the same?
Yeah.
Can't. Sorry.
Thought he was the Messiah.
Not
obviously.
anymore.
Oh, damn. Well, let me ask the prophet. So if you're not doing sub 2, that's not your shtick, right? It sounds like you've got a different version that's equally as successful. So with that lead funnel telling you, okay, these are the ones that are behind, and this is your route. If you're not making money modifying their mortgage, what's the long-term play?
Yeah, the long play is staying top of mind until if they ever do have to sell. And so, like
Yeah.
I said, there's a lot of attrition.
So you're sending them a postcard. There's some automation, right?
Yeah,
You get their
there are
email.
smart plans to stay
Yeah.
in contact with them through phone call, text message, email, postcards, newsletters, things like that.
Oh, wow. Newsletter too.
Yeah, so there's avenues to
I
stay
love
top
it.
of mind,
I
and
love
yet it's a numbers game like anything else. It's like I said earlier, time on the right task over time, and you find motivated sellers who aren't able to get modified, who aren't able to afford the bankruptcy option, who self-discover they do have to sell, and those are the ones that we're seeking out.
Yeah.
Like anything else, it's the needle in the haystack. Except these are all motivated sellers because they're all behind on their mortgage.
So if there's 75 a month, which is 300, or 75 a week, which is 300, what percent of those can you actually convert on? Like, do you have a funnel to extent where like every month you've got 3 to 5 deals going on?
Well, I don't pursue all 75 because I only have an area specific that I've
Right.
put my hand up and said.
That's true.
So
Okay.
let's say that that's 50%. Of those, we don't have the metrics to say this is the percentage that can convert or that are eligible to convert. I would venture to say it's somewhere around 25%.
Yeah. Interesting. And is this strategy, again, because I'm a Jew and I have the mind of a champion, is this a strategy you could like employ and go, all right, I've done it in San Diego. Now I'm going to do it in Orange County. Now I'm going to hire a team in LA. Then I'm going to hire a team in the Valley, and then just like cover the whole state of California because you're licensed in California.
Mhm.
Just be like, I can turn this into a franchise. And I don't mean franchise in the sense that like you're giving up ownership, but you're just building these sales funnels all across the state.
Yes.
You can.
I think it's a scalable model.
Yeah. But do you have
Some
to
would
like do
object-
it? Sorry, no. I don't want to talk over here.
Some would object and say that it isn't because of the attrition that we talked about earlier, the people that end up getting their loan modification or do end up filing for bankruptcy. Because of that fallout, I think people would object and say, well, it isn't worth the time. And like anything else, if you don't devote enough time on any lead generation lever, you won't ever see the outcome of it. And so if you go at this for 90 days, you're probably not going to convert anybody because A, the bank isn't going to foreclose on you that fast. And if they are, there's avenues of extending that foreclosure timeline so you can just kick the can down the road. And then B, if they do end up getting the solutions that we talked about. So if you're not going at it for, 12 months, you won't really see enough return on it for it to make sense.
Let me ask you a question. Because I'm looking at this like as if I would invest in it.
Mhm.
From my perspective, what you do sounds very successful, and I think could be modeled out through the whole state. So correct me in my logic. I'm going to walk through this. I don't even think it's esoteric, right? I think it's like a pretty like basic idea. Pull my sleeves.
You're
I
dirty.
put my Jew hat on. All right. I can say that, by the way, camera 6, because I am Jewish, but I would do like recruiting events in counties like Orange County, LA, whatever, Riverside County, San Bernardino, areas where I think like this could work. And I would invite people to like a breakfast at like a hotel or something. Right. And I would like put out ads on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. I would say like, are you 18 to 25? Do you like sales? Do you want to make $10,000 a month more? Come meet me and have breakfast. I'm the real estate prophet. You've got this little funnel. I'm going to do it on the 25th of this month. In this city, I'll be in the 5th. In this city, I'll be there on the 10th. In this city, I'll be on the 25th. Come meet me. Come have lunch with me. Come have breakfast with me. You get 50 to 100 people to come in. Costs you $500 to feed them breakfast, right? You sign them up commission only, right? And you tell them about the model. And you say, this is what I'm going to pay you, whether it's commission only or otherwise. And you get them the leads and you basically do the same thing. You have headquarters in San Diego that's like, you know, handing out the leads, giving people their directions for today. You're going to go to these 5 homes, right? And then you're like using software to monitor, right, the houses that they've hit, right? They're like, every time they get to a house or whatever, they're sending, you know, through their iPhone or whatever, they're sending you their location or something. That's whatever, that type of software or whatever. I know for other types of software, for like window washing and pest control, they have this type of software. Think of it like trucking software, right? Did you drop off? Ding, right? Security guards going around a commercial piece of property, QR coding it or something like that. Could you do that? Could you actually like build a model like that, knowing that the sales cycle isn't 6 months? Or does it really involve somebody who has enough equity in the game that they're like, listen, like I'll invest a year with this homeowner, both through face-to-face, you called it belly-to-belly, and then a series of automation, text, email, postcards, that maybe it's worth it to you. But answer my question. It was long-winded, but could you make that work for all these counties?
The short answer is yes, you could. It would be
financially, though, it would be
hard for the new agents to see enough income early to stick with it.
Would they have to be licensed?
They would.
There's the what do you call it? Because I'm talking about a street team.
Would have to.
See, I'm talking about a street team, like the guys who put like advertisements under windshield wipers in a parking lot. So like they need to be licensed as an agent to
They
go.
don't have to be.
How would they be compensated?
They'll pay him as a sales guy. They're not closing the actual deal, right? They're just getting it to a licensed real estate agent. Let's say Will goes, knocks on Lev's door. Hey, I see that you're in foreclosure.
Jeez.
Are you willing
Sorry,
to?
Lev.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I
Are
wanted
you
to
willing to speak with Kevin about all your options? And they say yes, no, maybe so. And then they build the rapport.
fair enough.
Then you show up with your charming beard and good looks, and
So he'd have to show up.
to close it, to
Yeah.
to get the listing.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, it's illegal to compensate somebody for giving you business unless they're a licensed agent and then sure, there's plenty of people that do that, right? You give me a deal, I'll pay you $500 or $1,000 at closing. A lot of people do that under the table. You do this enough and now you don't, and you don't 1099 everybody. Well, now you're hit with that income tax liability.
So that is against the rules, like the DRE rules?
You can't pay for business.
You could pay for leads. You
I
pay
don't know what
Zillow.
Dr. Dre has to do with this.
You can have a marketing company, right?
If I paid them up front, right?
No, you pay Zillow. for
Zillow's
leads.
licensed.
Zillow's not licensed.
They are.
They weren't before. They might be now.
Are we belly to belly at this point?
Let's fight.
Realtor.com isn't licensed.
I'll fight you right now.
I'm
PPC,
interested to
Google's
know.
not licensed.
For a long time, they were selling leads up front. And so if you're selling leads up front, then that's not a referral fee. Then Zillow introduced their partnership program, which was Zillow Premier, where agents would then get leads from them, close the lead, and then Zillow would get 50%. At that time, they were licensed. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but Realtor.com's not licensed. Google, I know Google's not licensed. You're buying leads from Google, right?
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
mean, there's ways to compensate individuals legally.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
for like Cardiff, right? Our part of our funnel is through Google. It's not like we pay them for leads. It's not like they're licensed. I think it could work. I like this idea. I think you would have to raise some capital because it would, the outlay would be significant to the extent where you'd have to have sales teams in different counties and be able to pay them for their time. But it'd be interesting. It'd be, put $100,000 on the table and see what it yields.
You also have to coach and train them on the sensitive conversation with homeowners who are behind on their payments.
Yeah. I just wonder if it's worth it in the long run.
Are these homes or these homeowners good candidates for flipping?
Yes. Probably
Love
one
that.
of the best.
Ooh, okay. Now I'm interested. So we've kind of come full circle on what Josh does for a living, right?
Yes.
I figured that when you're home, you're behind on payments and you're in a tough situation, your home may not be in the greatest shape. And it could be.
Yeah, we just redid our kitchen for $150,000.
Yeah.
Now we're out of money to pay our mortgage.
Yeah, a large majority of them are distressed properties with equity.
All right, now I'm interested.
Now there's a potential partnership there between an agent and a flipper agent.
Yes.
Do you work with flippers?
Yes.
Do you work with Josh, just out of curiosity?
No.
I just met Josh today.
Oh, wow. That's
Is
interesting.
that right?
Well, I believe we have done a transaction
He says we
before
have,
years ago because I did recognize his Instagram,
Oh,
his
interesting.
Lending Tips Instagram.
Oh,
This
Lending
was-
Tips 2.0.
That's old school.
Yeah, that's
This
cool.
was
That's
probably
not even
5 or
done by
6
real estate.
years
That's-
ago.
Yeah, I
Before
thought
the
you
fame.
brought Kevin.
I did. I met Kevin to
Oh.
a friend.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
You have
go
friends?
pick him up. Well, he's kind of like a paid friend.
Yeah. I know about those types of
you
friends.
have to pay him to
Absolutely.
be my friend.
Well,
Sorry, Mike.
that's interesting. You guys should work together, right? You should flip each other deals.
Well, he flips them too, right? You flip homes.
Yes. So
Oh.
our team, yes. So we
Oh,
have an
He's a
acquisition
competition
side.
at this point.
Oh, well then.
No, but I'd be happy
Get
to.
outta
I
here,
mean,
bro.
we work with other investors. We don't buy everything, and so the opportunities that we don't purchase, we outsource to other investors.
Josh comes up to me all the time. He's like, I got this opportunity, but he wants $50,000, right? To
Oh yeah.
like a
The
wholesale.
wholesale fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
a lot
why
of
not
money.
at this point go out on your own?
Why not go out on my
Mm-hmm.
own? I had worn a lot of hats in this industry. I had been a team leader at one point, and I think it derives from what am I ultimately looking to accomplish in the industry. What I'm looking to accomplish is I'm looking to leave a legacy for my family. I'm looking to educate agents along the way. And I don't need to be in a team lead position in order to build that infrastructure or accomplish those two things. What I was finding is that when I was coaching and training a lot of agents, and I think at the peak of it, it was around 40 agents, but we're not talking about like once a month. We're talking about like multiple times a week, one-on-one conversations with 40 agents. It's very time demanding. And so while I was doing that, it was impeding on the agents that were on my team. Because why am I giving a high-level service to agents who aren't committed to me and like the agents that have committed to my team, but I'm then coaching and training everybody else? And so there was that conflict of interest. And then it was also not allowing me to give as much to the agents on my team, but also not allowing me to give as much to my business. And so I decided to, instead of building my own team, partner with somebody who had a high-level business doing something that I wasn't yet doing, and that was real estate investing. And so by partnering with Mike, he introduced me to a world of flipping, buy and hold, all of that stuff. And so the benefit to him was he's going to get a top-performing agent who's also has a bunch of agents that they coach and they influence on his team to work on with him. And he's going to provide me with opportunity, education on that side so that I can take my life and my business to the next level. And that was
Interesting.
the consensus. And
We only have a few more minutes, and I really want to hear what is in store for you, right? We're at this weird, I don't know, maybe it's an inflection point, maybe it's not with regard to rates. I think the Fed has said that they want to lower interest rates in 2024. And Dean and I think Dean, myself, and Josh have our reasons why they'll probably lower interest rates. I think it has a lot to do with the presidential cycle, right? Sort of kowtowing to the incumbent, right? Making him a better candidate for reelection. But assuming that rates do get lowered, right? The 10-year goes down, right? That affects people's, mortgage rates for both refi and new, right? What do you see in the next year to two for you and your business?
consistency. I think I just focus on what I'm doing now, what I can control now. If rates go down, that will multiply. If rates go up, that might slow. And so I guess as we project out into the next 12 months, my job is simply to create more relationships with homeowners who are behind on their payments, focus on my social media that can yield buyer leads, and focus on retaining referrals from my past clients and database. And so if I can just focus on those 3 lead generation levers, whatever happens economically, locally, globally, I don't focus so much of my attention on that because I then get pulled in too many different directions.
Yeah, I get it. You focus on what you can control, right? So you've got a few different levers that you can pull, and that's what you sort of focus your time and energy on. What happens to, assuming that rates do go down, right, in the next 12 months, what does that mean for realtors, especially for the buyers? Is it buyers agents? What do you guys, because we just did a podcast last week, right, with Ricky Caruth. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
And I got into an argument with him, and I said, I don't see a lot of value in buyers agents. They seem like a relic of the past. I don't know what the fuck they do. They seem like idiots, right? Well, I find a lead on Redfin, and what, I'm like sitting in the backseat of their car going to look at a home or something, and this is what is this? The living room. And I'm like, dude, you fucking nailed it, bro. I don't know how you figured out it was a living room.
This house is made of wood. You should check it for termites.
Yeah, they're like the dumbest
Amazing.
fucking people on earth. Sellers agents, right? A little bit more technical, right? Because they have to like list the property and choose the price and well, I don't know, like
Put the lipstick on the pig.
Put lipstick on the pig, sit in the home during the open house and look busy, right? I've seen your Don't Buy Real Estate reels about that. Yeah, those are great. What happens to sales? Like, again, right? There's the DOJ investigating. Yeah, but like they sued specific realty companies, right? And also not the, what do you call it? Not the MLS, but they sued the
National Association of Realtors.
NAR, right? Yeah, that's right. And it seems like there's one case in specific that now is the precedent. I want to say it was like in Missouri, and they won. And those realty companies had to settle, right? As a result, not settle, but they had to like, right? They were liable. And it seems like now, as soon as that case was decided in court, those same attorneys went and like just submitted paperwork for like, 49 more states. So it's like, what now happens to, in the next 12 months, assuming rates go down, do you have a prediction on what's going to happen to like what are they called? Sales agents, selling agents?
Buyers agents.
Buyers agents. That's what the word is. Sorry. Yeah. What happens to those guys?
I don't think those two things are parallel. I mean, if rates go down, because right now there still is a listing agent and a buyer's agent. And so until that takes place, the buyer's agents will still continue conducting business the way that they are.
Mhm.
Rates go down, it'll make it very easy for those buyer's agents to get more business so that they can continue staying in business, and people who are not currently licensed will continue to get licensed because, again, going back to that, the barrier of entry is so low. And so when somebody gets introduced to real estate, they see these large commissions, they get their real estate, they pass the real estate test very quickly. They then get in and make easy sales on the buyer side. I think once they are no longer allowed to represent buyers exclusively, then I think that what's going to happen is a lot of agents are going to get out of the business because of a lack of skill and not being able to convert sellers.
Yeah.
When that happens, let's say I have now 25 listings at one time, and I'm representing the seller or any buyer that comes to the property. I can't show 25 homes on the same day at the same time.
Right.
So those buyer's agents will become showing agents, where I'll pay them hourly or I'll pay them a bonus if they end up showing the buyer the house that sells. And I think that's going to be the transition for those agents that can't step up and develop the skill necessary to convert sellers and to maintain a business by just representing sellers. And for those that are able to take that market share, our business will multiply because now we're representing both sides.
Okay, so in other words, to distill it down, your prediction, right? The profit, the real estate profit, the buyer's agents the next 12 to 24 months will go back to waiting tables, working at Outback, doing nails and bottle service if they
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A drive-through, or doing, or doing bottle service if they still have the good looks, right? If they're 30 plus, God bless them. I don't know where they're doing it. Somewhere very dark. Very dark.
Applebee's. Bottle service.
A lot of flair. Whatever, buyer's agents better have a lot of flair, because if they don't, it's going to be kind of hard to
It's so fascinating because
afford their apartment.
interest rates really have to come down pretty significantly to get what all real estate agents are waiting for. And that's they're all sitting there waiting for a seller to become motivated to move. No seller is motivated to move. I mean, I couldn't find one right now to save my life. And so what do you think that is? Do you think they have to come down a point, 2 points, 3 points? Like, do we have to go all the way back down to 3% to make it exciting for me to sell my house?
I think if we got to 5%, we would see historic levels of inventory hit the market at the same time.
That's like 1.5% lower than they are today.
Josh?
Yeah, they're
Oh, yeah,
at
he
7.25 today.
7.25 today.
Yeah. So you're talking 2,
2 points.
which won't happen
Hard to imagine, right? In the next 12
unless
months.
all hell breaks loose.
And there are still life events that cause people to sell. But for the sake of your question, yeah, most people are locked into their home due to the interest rate that they couldn't otherwise get if they sold and purchased another home because of that affordability issue.
The biggest problem facing the real estate industry today.
I think it's.
Can't think of a
I
big
think
one.
we're in a normal market.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine.
So do I.
Is that right?
It kind of seems
It's
normal.
balanced.
Yeah, it is balanced.
They're going to move when they need to move.
You know what I'd like to see?
Inventory will increase along
I
the
think
way.
there's a ton of people out there that are trying to move up and they are frozen.
So
They
how-
can't.
So why can't the
How do you call that a normal market?
so why
I
can't
don't
the
think they're
government
frozen. They just don't want to do it, right?
Wait, my
can do
mortgage is
it.
at 3%.
I'm gonna
You're
Google
asking me to
chat.
take a
I'm
7%.
I'm not a Google
I'm not
chat
asking
raising
you
my
to. You
hand.
probably want to, right? If you're going to, like, I need to buy a house, I'm going to do it. It's not like I'm not going to wait till interest rates drop.
I mean, I know people they just can't. It's impossible.
They can. They just don't want to. It's a pressure.
Josh's gonna get a better
You
job.
don't want to pay 7%, right? You can pay 7%.
I don't think so. I mean,
no, you can't, because on a $5 or $6 million mortgage, whatever the case may
That's
be,
the that's
I'm not paying 7%.
gosh, I
cash
bought
at
a
that
house for
point.
$1 million. Now it's worth 2. My mortgage is at 3% on $1 million. What's my move up goal? $2.5, $3 million, right? If I'm in a
You
2,
tell me, what is your next stage in life? I think it would be to downgrade, if anything. You would sell your house, buy a house cash, call it a day once your kids
like
move
a
out.
farm.
He'd move
to a
to
farm.
the ocean. But listen,
Yeah.
let me contextualize this conversation, because I think we're short on time, but
Time.
is something you can.
Too easy.
Why can't they just change the rules? Why can't the government force the banks to go, listen, nobody can buy and nobody wants to sell, and interest rates are the interest rates. So here's what we're going to push the banks to do. We're going to allow them to sell their home and let the buyer qualify for an assumable mortgage.
You can do that now.
Well, I mean, it's not like, it's a common
Cool,
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine that they made that rule. The Biden administration said, listen, I can't solve rates because of inflation, but what I can do is the 3-card Monty. You guys know what that is?
Sounds like communism.
Does that sound like communism? It's going to be a
God,
great
get
clip
there.
for YouTube.
3
3-card Monty. It's like a
you
game.
communist, you're trying to force corporations to do something the government's telling them to do by fixing prices. This is horrible.
Sounds like what we were talking about yesterday with the fast food collusion,
Yeah.
right? With surge pricing.
Whew.
Yeah. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Wendy's.
What the hell is surge pricing?
Listen, it's tangential to what we're talking about.
At 5 p.m., Wendy's costs a different amount than
Yes.
at 1 p.m.?
Yes. For 6,000 stores across America, they're replacing their menu boards, live action menu boards that get updated in real time. Oh, 5 o'clock, Baconator just costs an extra 99 cents.
We see this with Uber. We see it with airline tickets. Why not fast food?
This guy should have been on the podcast
Let's go.
yesterday. But Josh's idea is it's probably collusion, McDonald's was probably like, listen, we're not going to fucking do it, but Wendy's, you fucking moron, you'll try it out. And if it works, we'll adopt it. And that's the collusion. But I think on a more nefarious level, right, which is the government forcing banks to do stuff. I mean, they force banks to do stuff all the time, right? Your capital requirements at, this type of institution has just changed, right? So if you can't meet those capital requirements, sorry, right? JP Morgan Chase is going to have to acquire your customers, right? So sorry, Midwestern flyover shit state, right? Your little bank is now the possession of JP Morgan Chase. Chase is like, hey, win's a win, fucker. You know what I mean? Look at the scoreboard. That's my best.
U.S. banks have exited the mortgage space.
Yeah.
Thank you, William Stern.
I don't think so. I think they're going to get forced to, but I think that's the lever that they pull. I think that's the greatest. Listen, that's the greatest lever you could hope for because it's not affecting interest rates, but what it's doing is it's creating
inventory.
Yeah.
But it's pushing prices up because think of the demand.
Wait, what? No, it's just creating inventory.
This isn't complicated. We get the government to actually create a new Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Talk to the camera with no number.
Hey, camera. We get the government to create a new entity that creates a price floor, right? Or price ceiling for interest rates for home buyers.
All right.
And how do they fund this? Well, they fund it with taxpayer money. Not new taxpayer money, because that won't work. They're going to fund it by taking something away that they spend money on today.
Also, we could sell 2 more houses.
But I think, Kevin, you're right? Because what it'll do, yes, it'll create inventory, right? It'll create artificially, it'll create homes for sale. But inadvertently, maybe it causes price appreciation in the same type of, with the same type of fervor that was felt during COVID. Remember in the beginning of COVID, everyone's like stayed put. And all the mortgage companies were like, hey, don't even worry about paying your mortgage in 90 days. We're good. The world's ending. And then afterwards, everyone's like, all right, this isn't so bad. We're all going to work from home. We can either do a lot of home improvements to our house and make it more livable because we're stuck, or we can just move. And I think the price appreciation, at least in San Diego, it doubled, right? It was the most ridiculous thing. I don't know for sure, but I think my home tripled in value since I bought it. And I bought my home in 2018. That's like a Sorry, Lev.
Retired.
That is a retired appreciation. Yeah. Thank you, Lev. But that is the most ridiculous form of appreciation. And again, that was created, right, by the government.
And we're in a very dangerous place today because pre-COVID, everybody was worried about inflation, but it was asset inflation, right? It wasn't prices at the grocery store, prices at the pump, right? They were worried about the stock prices were going up, home prices were going up. Well, that's just benefiting the rich. COVID came and we got real inflation, real price inflation at the grocery store.
Which is never really ameliorated.
Right. And who did they blame? They blamed the government for printing money. Well, that stopped, right?
Yeah.
That stopped over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And seemingly we've had inflation at the grocery store and the pump slow down.
Yes.
And what do we see going on again? Now, the government has not started printing money again.
No, there's zero accommodative
But the
monitoring.
expectation is that they're going to, right? They're going to start lowering interest rates and printing again. And what's going on? Oh, yeah. Bitcoin, $63,000, right? Home prices up 10% month over month, something like that in San Diego.
Yeah.
So inflation is alive and well. And that's a scary prospect, right? For the average American going into 2024, 2025.
Who was it that it was Citi. So Citigroup just announced that mid-year, there is no soft landing. And that mid-year, so June, you can expect a recession.
Yeah, I'd like to see their record on predicting recessions over the last couple of years. I wonder if Citigroup's like one of the idiot banks that's been saying that for 3 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they're
Possibly.
yelling recession in a movie theater. Maybe they're not.
And they're doubling down or like in a cult.
Yeah, maybe.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna make it.
We're manifesting it.
Yeah, it's weird,
Yeah.
right?
But employment's still like 100%.
I don't know. Employment numbers looked a little
Is
soft.
that right?
Yeah.
What were they, Josh? You like to report on this?
Yeah, you
stuff?
report on employment
We're
numbers.
down like 0.10 or 1.2 last quarter, right?
I don't-
CPI and unemployment it's all normal. It wasn't crazy.
I think last week employment numbers, like because the employment numbers come out every Friday, right? It's like the ADP numbers or whatever. They look soft.
Wasn't bad.
Employment looks
for
soft.
some week.
What?
You know, for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they scare you. It's the news right now. This just broke. Employment this week looks terrible.
Powell's going to need some reason to lower rates. So I got to imagine there's going to be some weird headlines coming out in the next few months.
Right. So
Something.
they lower rates, 10-year treasury drops, and it artificially creates more price appreciation, which does increase the divide between rich and poor.
Yeah. And I think home prices are already reflecting the expectation that this is going to happen.
Yeah, I think if you're smart, you're going to get started. Like the winter's over, right? We're basically almost in spring. Now it's time to sell again.
Josh, is this selling season already?
Always selling season,
Are
baby.
we there?
Yeah, I feel like Q2, Q3 is going to be the busiest time any year.
What's the little like rodent that needs to like come up?
8%. Oh,
And
the
he, like,
Groundhog Day. Okay.
It's a groundhog, but he has like
Hamster.
a name. No, it's like there's some guy. Phil.
Richard Gere.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's something. Only a few people will understand that joke. He liked
Good
to
joke.
put in the tuchus, the gerbils. In any event,
Gerbil. That's what it is.
gerbil? No, it's like Saskatchewan. It's not Saskatchewan, but it's something like that.
Punxsutawney Phil. or something.
Punxsutawney Phil. There you go. Bang.
Ground.
So Punxsutawney comes up. Well, it's the whole like, are we in spring yet? And if he sees his shadow, then we're in spring, I think. Something like that. Don't quote me on that.
There's not going to be any rain or something.
Something like that. Yeah. And then we're in spring, and spring's good for selling. Josh would say it's always good for selling, but I
As long
think
as rates aren't 8%, it's good for selling.
yeah.
The 7% range is fine.
When I bought a home, we can end on this note, but I think when I bought my first home, which was in 2002, I think rates were like 6.5%.
And home prices were a quarter of what they are today.
I think my first home was like,
We looked up your home. It's the same price as it was when
damn,
you bought it.
is that right?
Yeah, your condo.
Yeah.
It just sold for the same price that you sold it for.
That was the 3131 Michelson apartment number
Where
303.
he stole the
about something
fridge.
else.
Oh, you're talking about something else.
Well, whatever. That wasn't the first home I bought, but it was that, that was apartment that was, but something like that. That was in like 2009, 2010.
Condo in Irvine that he bought first is worth a lot more. Than,
Oh, really?
than
But it was funny,
was.
right? That was like a 1980s condo that I bought
Yeah.
when I was a kid. And I think I bought it for $4. A year before, the woman bought it for $3. I probably sold it for like $5 or $6.
Like more than $1 million. Way more than $1 million.
It's ridiculous.
20 years ago, right?
She is. Yeah.
Not recount.
Let's-
Good
let's- yeah.
times.
I wonder how wages were to prices then versus now.
Well, again, that's the greatest
Not
point.
enough.
Not enough, right?
Yeah.
Wages have not increased. And it's created a culture, I think, of these Gen Z people that just rent everything. It's Uber, it's DoorDash, right? Nobody wants a car. Nobody wants a car note. Nobody wants to go out and eat. They'll have it delivered. Amazon to me now, right? It's created this very impetuous, this culture where it's like, I don't need to own anything, right? I'll lease my life.
Yeah, and OnlyFans.
Let's end it like that. You can check out Dean on his OnlyFans account. It's at Dean
At
Lolkin.
Dean Lolkin, yeah. Please
Kevin,
see me there.
do you want to give him your OnlyFans account? What's
I'm
Skincare.
a
What's your
refrain from the
skincare?
OnlyFans account.
What's your social media handle?
Instagram at Kevin.EHM.
Okay. And of course, there's Josh Messiah, which is at Don't Buy Real Estate, and at Lending TIPS. Just the tip. We'll end it there. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks
you,
for coming
gentlemen.
on. Appreciate it,
Appreciate it.
Kevin. Later.